Well, sometimes technology just doesn't want to work with you. Absolutely. So sorry, guys. We are having so many false starts here tonight. I want to chat with you guys. I am so sorry. Please come back. Let's chat. Let's talk about some comic books, some pop culture, some movies. I had some people in the chat room. We had some chatting going on, some talking back and forth, but we are finally back on. Sorry, guys, about that. Seriously, just having some computer issues lately, man. It's been really slowing us up here at PCP. It's been kind of frustrating. But somebody's back, so that's very exciting. When we last left off, we were talking about the upcoming comic books. Comic Otaku was asking about that Batgirl cover B. It's gone up like crazy, like 27, 30 bucks right now, and I think that's insane. We'll talk about that once more people get in, so please come in and let me know that you're here, and let's start chatting again. Hopefully the computer will make it through. Last week, the computer did amazing. This week, it's kind of messing up on us. We had some audio issues. We fixed those. Then it froze up on us. It's frustrating, man. But it is what it is, and we do what we do. And we keep going. So Comic Otaku had a thought about the Batgirl. He asked if anybody had picked up that Batgirl cover this week, that cover B that went crazy. I don't know why it went so crazy at all, but it did. No, I didn't pick it up. I mean, I don't read Batgirl, so it wasn't even on my radar. I mean, I had it in my hands many times at the shop. Patch Leonard, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Patch, I get what you're saying. I absolutely do. The worrisome part about No Justice to me is that it's 4 issues and it's weekly, so it's fast and it's kind of thrown together. But I think that this is more of a setup of what's to come. I really think that it's not going to be it'd be a little bit of a shotgun ending. They're going to resolve something super quick, right? And they're going to do that. That's going to happen. But it's going to lead to something further. This is not the main story. This is the cold open of what Snyder, Tynion, and Williamson are going to be doing for Justice League for the next year or two even. So that's very exciting to me. It's like DC finally has their Celestials, their giant cosmic beings, and Jack Kirby kind of brought a lot of that stuff in with the New Gods and brought a lot of that stuff into Marvel, obviously. And so it's cool to see DC do these big epic events. Metal was huge and it was fun and it was fun. It was awesome. So it's nice to see the threads get picked up in No Justice. Will it have a shotgun ending? Probably. Something's going to get wrapped up super quick. Green Arrow's probably going to be the hero, right? Or they'll figure out what Brainiac wanted to do, or Brainiac will come back and save the day briefly and quickly. But the way issue 3 ended, they got a long way to go, it seems like, before they wrap this story up. So I just think this is like the cold open of an overarching story that they're going to continue to be doing. Otaku, if you're here with us, I mentioned about the Batgirl. I was talking about that, and no, I didn't get that cover. I don't buy covers on speculation value. I don't try to get comics going to be worth money or anything like that. So Batgirl's never been on my radar. But it's very curious to me that the cover has hit so hard and it's worth so much money. It's crazy to me. I don't understand it. So I thought that was crazy. Thank you for the question, Patch. If anybody else has any other questions about comics, movies, pop culture, all that stuff. Yeah, Bison, I'm glad I'm back too. I'm sorry about that. I hope it doesn't happen again, man. I really do. We're having some computer issues. Me and John and Justin, we're putting our heads together, which me putting my head together with them doesn't do any question. Bison, you have questions? Are you saying you have some questions? Ask them. I'll answer them. That's what I'm here for. This week I really had there were some good books this week though. I'm super pumped for next week. Thoughts on Frank Miller's Xerxes. Bison, do you watch the channel typically when we do the weekly comic book review? If not, I do a weekly comic book review. It's usually up on Tuesday evening, about 9:30, 11 o'clock my time, depending on how my computer's acting and how many comic books came out that week. I read the first issue and I actually was impressed by it. I actually thought it was way better than I thought it would be, but I haven't read, only 2 are out right now, right? Well, thank you for joining the channel, man. I really appreciate that. I'm petting a cat. If I look like I'm doing some weird movements or whatever, I'm just petting a cat. It's Ariel. How you doing, Ariel? But I talked about Xerxes a little bit. I thought issue 1 was better than I thought it would be. I really did. So I don't know. I guess I guess I decided to trade weight it. I don't know. Sometimes when you read as much as I do, the stacks get higher and higher. And but I was actually kind of impressed with Xerxes #1. Frank Miller still knows how to tell a story in graphic form. He really, really does. And that's evident in Xerxes #1. I am always worried about any new work from Frank Miller, to be honest with you. But he still surprises me. And that's a good thing about Frank Miller. I grew up a huge, huge Frank Miller fan. His work on Batman with Year One and Dark Knight Returns, obviously, and a Daredevil. Daredevil in particular. That's some of my favorite Frank Miller stuff is the Elektra saga. I love it. I also, when I was a teenager, I was a Sin City fan. I'm not much of a Sin City fan anymore. I prefer Astro City. Bison says Versus is really impressing him. I read the first couple issues and it just kind of fell by the wayside. So I'm trade weighting that one as well. All the books you're asking about, I'm trade weighting. It's terrible. You can't read everything, right? I try to, guys. I try to read so much for you guys. I really do. Sometimes though, it's just like, what's the point of reading a book if I don't remember what happened in the last issue? Patch has got a question here. Do you know if DC Black Label is still going to be a new imprint? I remember when there were rumors of a Snyder Batman story, seems to have gone quiet. I think that Frank Miller was going to do a Superman story. Yes, Frank Miller is doing Superman Year One. And that is still coming out, but it has been delayed. Black Label is still a thing that's coming out. When they announced it, it was way early. That stuff's not scheduled to come out until this fall and this winter. So Superman Year One, I think, was one of the first ones that was supposed to come out. And that one has already been delayed. It didn't show up in the August solicitations. I don't think it's going to be in September, but that stuff is happening. It's just not going to happen till the end of this year, beginning of next year. So, but they got this new Justice line right now. DC's got you don't want to throw too much out there all at the same time. They got the Sandman stuff kind of restarting. And it's very odd that DC hasn't continued the Sandman stuff before. I mean, I know they've done Lucifer and they've done a lot of miniseries and things like that. Mike Carey did a good job of trying to bring some of that stuff out into the forefront. But Black Label is still coming, even though, seriously, I think Bleeding Cool just put up an article talking about Year One by Superman being delayed. But I am super excited and pumped to see what Superman's going to do. I mean, what Frank Miller's going to do with Superman. I'd be very excited, too, to see what Superman's going to do with Frank Miller. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what I've never liked Frank Miller's view of Superman, aside from when I was a kid. Not a kid, but when I was a youngin', like in my early 20s or whatever. Superman's a very optimistic, hopeful type character, and Frank Miller's not that type of creator. So I'm interested to see what happens. Patch, I'm the only other person you know that loves Aquaman. Are you serious? That's sad. I love Aquaman. That's my man. I love him. I love Aquaman so much. Aquaman's badass. He's powerful. My love for Aquaman started with the Superpowers action figure and continued and was cemented by Peter David's run on the character, his monumental run on the character in the 90s. And yes, that's the Hook Hand Aquaman. Hook Hand Aquaman was the shizzle when I was growing up, and it was awesome. And I just ate it up. For sure. Loved it. Bison, you can ask me as many questions as you want. Please do. Last question. Keep asking questions if you got them. Let's talk. Let's discuss things. Would you pay for an artist signature or a picture at a con? Yes, I have done it, and I will continue to do it at times. I offered Fabian Nicieza money for his signatures this year, but he wouldn't take it. We did a panel together, so I guess that's probably why. But he would, like, the interesting thing about this, like, a lot of artists will not charge you. Some do. But Mark Bagley charged me for the first bit. But once Fabian introduced me to Mark as the Night Thrasher guy, because I love Night Thrasher, they didn't charge me. And I'm not trying. I'm just saying, like, the interesting thing about Fabian is that he was not charging for signatures unless it was a Deadpool or an X-Men book. And of course, I got X-Men 25 signed. The Fatal Attractions issue, where Wolverine gets his adamantium ripped out, because that's one of my favorite comic books ever. That was such a big deal when I was like a kid, man. Like, we were talking about that in middle school, like forever. forever. It was so fun. But meeting Fabian and Mark was fantastic. But yeah, man, pay for their signatures, man. They're artists. They get paid the artists in comic books get paid very little compared to what we think they should be paid. Like, I'm not even kidding. Comic books make some money, but like the artists don't get paid as much as one would think. So yeah, that's why they do that. They support them. But if you get in with them, if you're cool, they won't charge you for everything. But some people are those guys that bring in like a whole like short box of comic books. That's Creamsicle right there. I don't know if you guys have ever really met him. He's been on a few videos on it. What's up, Crane? Yeah, thank you, buddy. So that's what I think about that. Yeah, pay them because they're there to yeah. It's like a tip. Think of it as a tip. But don't pay too much. For real. But certain people don't charge at all. Like I said, Fabian didn't charge if it was anything other than X-Men or Deadpool. And Brian Michael Bendis says that he will never charge for an autograph because a signature comes for free with every single book that you buy, is what he says. And that's a cool thing to do too. But a lot of artists a lot of people aren't on that Bendis level. Patch wants to know if I'm into any high fantasy books. 7 to Eternity, just caught up on that. I read the first issue of Coda, wasn't very impressed. Cy Spurrier's work is confusing to me. It's hard for me to get into his scripts. I thought it was a beautiful book, though. I really, really did. Fantasy is not typically my thing, guys, but we are about to do a fantasy podcast. My buddies Drew and Brooks here on the PCP crew, they're the biggest fantasy fans, and we're going to be talking about a lot of fantasy in that movie. But, like, I am so... like not into fantasy that much. Like I like fantasy type movies, but to me, I'm thinking like things like Harry Potter and Legend and stuff like that. So when you say high fantasy, I think you mean kind of like what we say when we mean like high or hard sci-fi, because I'm more of a sci-fi guy. But otherwise, I just think you're talking about like high elves, meaning like elves just like smoking pipe weed and stuff. I don't know what is high fantasy? Is Lord of the Rings high fantasy? Does that mean like really complex and Intuit world building and stuff like that? Because with like high sci-fi and hard sci-fi, that's kind of what we mean with that. Bison, I understand why you would like Namor better than Aquaman. Namor is a like for instance, like Jason Momoa. As much as I love Jason Momoa, and as much as I love this guy right here, Aquaman, and I do like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I do, right? I don't like that Justice League movie, but I do like him as that character a little bit, though I do think they tried too hard to make him rock star. He'd been a better Namor. Honestly, he'd be a better Namor. Namor's awesome. I'm a Fantastic Four fan. Of course I love Namor. Namor's awesome. But Aquaman's better because he won't try to steal your chick. Or dude. All right, Bison, I get what you're saying. You're talking about Frank Miller. Yeah, Frank Miller. Okay, here's the thing. Yeah. $100 per book because that's Frank Miller. That's the problem. I would not pay Frank Miller $100 to sign my book. I would not. The most I would pay for an artist or a writer to sign my book is probably like $5 to $10. That is the most. Like I said, it's like a tip. Frank Miller's doing that because he's Frank Miller. You could probably buy Frank Miller autographs online for cheaper. Just go meet him, take a selfie. I don't know. I pay. Who am I saying though? I said I wouldn't pay a comic artist more than $5 to $10 or a writer to sign my book, right? But I have paid actors who are in Power Rangers like $60 for an autograph and a photo. So I guess it's how into it. Frank Miller's a big deal, man, but I wouldn't pay $100 for an autograph. I would pay $60 for an autograph and a selfie. That's what I would do. I would not pay more than Frank Miller than I did Jason David Frank or Austin St. John or Johnny Young Bosch or any of those guys, or David Yost or any of those Power Rangers that I've met. This next year at the Expo, we're going to have Marv Wolfman, we're going to have Karen Ashley, we're going to have Walter Jones, so we're going to have Black Rangers, Yellow Rangers. Oh, I'm so excited, guys. And every year, Jeremy, there's a cat in the litter box, so I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to keep kind of talking. So last week, Jeremy, the guy that runs the Expo, he's a super cool guy. I love him so much. Every year I've had the opportunity to introduce the Power Ranger guests that are there, and it just blows my mind. I absolutely love it. Patch wants to know, do you have, that was quick, Creamsicle. Thank you so much for your courtesy. Patch wants to know, do you have any recommendations for starting points on Green Lanterns? I have never read a single Green Lantern arc, but have been intrigued lately. What is your favorite Green Lantern story? My favorite Green Lantern story, as it stands, is the Jeff Johns run. So I would recommend that you start with the Jeff Johns run. You can start with Green Lantern Rebirth. That is the absolute best place to start on Green Lantern. It will introduce you to the character, to the concept. That was when they reintroduced Hal into the mythology, kind of did some retconning, fixed some things, and ironed it all out for the future, and it led to Sinestro Corps War and Blackest Night. So the Jeff Johns run from Green Lantern Rebirth all the way through Blackest Night is fantastic. Brightest Day is cool because of the spotlight on Martian Manhunter and Aquaman, but it's all right. And Jeff Johns' run kind of goes up and down from that point forward, but his run from Green Lantern Rebirth to Blackest Night is so solid, so amazing, so deep. Ivan Reyes on the artwork. You got a little bit of Ethan Van Sciver. You got some Carlos Pacheco on that stuff. So I would recommend that you start with Green Lantern Rebirth for sure. That is the only Green Lantern book that I recommend to people to start with. Dave Gold says that Aquaman Volume 1 has some nice covers. Do you mean Volume 1 like Volume 1, Volume 1? Like we're talking about 1960s Aquaman? Because if so, you're right. DC had some crazy covers in the 60s. Aquaman especially. If you're part of the PCP Army, I shared the Who's Who Aquaman thing today. I'm a huge Aquaman fan. And if you haven't joined that group yet, we're on Facebook. You can go over there, PCP Army. It's super fun. It's a bunch of our fans and followers, people that check out the videos, me, a bunch of the PCP crew guys. Holshoe's there, Justin's there, Jelani's there, Drew's there, Jeremy's there, Timothy's there, a bunch of us. And it's super, super fun. We just share photos. We share news. We talk to each other. And if you guys are like artists and like writers and like, let me know and share some of your stuff. But we just try not to make it like a place where people are just promoting their stuff, except for us, I guess. But yeah, Aquaman Volume 1 has some great covers, if that's what you're talking about, because they're crazy and Silver Agey nutso, super nutso. And welcome, Dave. Nice to see you again. Bison says Coda reminds him of Non-Player from a few years back. Did they ever finish Non-Player? That book was so good and it never came out. I don't even remember anything about it except for the fact that I just loved it. I think if you go back far enough, if you look at the week that it came out, I think it made the pick of the week, or I spoke very highly of it. But man, it's been forever since that book came out. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if it finished. Oh, thank you, Patch. Thank you. We're not the GOAT, but thank you so much. I'm sorry to disagree with you. No, but I really appreciate that, man. I'm glad to be of service to you guys. I've loved comic books for a very, very long time. I've read them for a very, very long time. And I just love talking about comic books with you guys so much. And movies and stuff. Anybody here? We got a few people here. Anybody seen Solo yet? No spoilers if you have, but has anybody seen it? If you have seen it, let me know, and I want to know what you thought about it with no spoilers. Patch has not seen Solo yet. Nick Cardy. I guess Nick Cardy did do those covers. Aquaman Volume 1 was that was the 60s run, I'm pretty sure. Looking up real quick, buddy. Patch has not seen Solo. I watched Solo. The movie Monday is coming out Monday, obviously. Me, Brooks, and John, we talk about it. Jelane did not join us. He did not care to watch it. But we thought highly of it. I liked it a lot. I did. I thought it was really, really good. Yeah, that's Volume 1 guy. Wait, is it? Hold on. Yeah, I think that is. Look at some images. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really good. Me and Brooks thought very highly of it. So that's 60s Aquaman. That stuff right there. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, you can. That stuff right there. Yeah. Look at the perspective on some of those things. Like, look at they're very visceral. Does that make sense? Like, there's no like subtext there. It's just like, it's dire situations. It's epic. Look at that like angle on that one. It's very explosive. That's Nick Cardy. Yeah, that's good stuff. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, and great colors. DC had some good colors on covers back then. Marvel did too. Marvel, Marvel's colors on their covers in the 60s and the 70s are the best. Oh my goodness, they're the best. They're just amazing, guys. They're so good. God. And they color comics even better now. Like they do. We may have lost the inker, but we have gained a level of coloring in comic books that we have never had before. The colorists have now taken the place of what the inkers were doing. They're adding the richness and the depth and the detail and things like that. It's amazing. I love this industry. I love it so much. So many good things. How excited are you guys for Doomsday Clock next week? Oh, I'm so excited. I wish it came out weekly. I wish it came out. I'm very glad that Gary Frank's doing every issue, though. But I hate that it's been running behind. And then they did announce all these crazy like delays, and then they brought it back. It's so weird, man. But I hope that I don't care how long we wait. Gary Frank is solely on the art and Anderson on the colors. I'm there. I'm down. I'm super down. So we got a few more people in here. How you guys doing? Newbies, what's up? Anybody here familiar with us? Do the PCP Army, all that stuff. Like I said, PCP Army is on Facebook. We have a lot of fun there. We have a lot of fun. Go to Facebook, check out PCP Army. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/PCP. The Han Solo review is going to be up Monday for Movie Monday, but the Patreons are going to get it tonight as soon as I'm done with this live stream. So Patreons, David, Brian, Alex, if you guys are listening, you're about to get it tonight, but with no images. Hopefully we'll be able to put the images tomorrow. It's been a very, very busy week. Tuesday, went and saw Perfect Circle. Wednesday, went and saw Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith live. Thursday, went and saw Han Solo. Friday, filmed that Han Solo video. Saturday, here we are. Just finished the pop culture wrap up. That's going to be ready out tomorrow morning. Got to do that when we wrap up here. So if anybody's got some questions, please ask them. If you want to talk about anything in particular. And once again, has anybody seen Solo yet? My favorite Silver Age Daredevil villain is Stiltman. That's easy. Because Kingpin did not become a Daredevil villain until the Bronze Age, right? That was Miller. Miller, like I was talking about earlier, Miller's Daredevil to me is amazing, and I love it. Love it so much. But Stiltman's so stupid and goofy, but it works, and I love that it continues on being silly and goofy, and they treat it as such. But he's also very, because villains like Spider-Man Shocker, for instance, because there's such a joke, like they're overlooked sometimes, and sometimes they have a really good story because of it. I'm glad you like Stiltman. I love Stiltman. Stiltman's crazy. It's goofy. It's the dumbest idea, isn't it? But it's awesome and it works. Daredevil's super silly in the Silver Age. Daredevil is super silly in the Silver Age. It's like hard to get into it sometimes. My first Daredevil stuff was right back in the day. Okay, so what the Last Rites, that was a thing, right? Did Denny O'Neil do that? Who did that? I don't remember. But Last Rites was the first Daredevil I read. It didn't really I was into stuff like Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men, obviously, Maximum Carnage, Death of Superman, a little bit of Batman. That's what I was into at the time. So Daredevil didn't really speak to me that much, but I loved it when Daredevil was in Spider-Man. Like, does that make sense? So that was super interesting to me. And then I read the Scott McDaniel stuff that they did. That was when he's in the crazy suit with the armored suit and all that stuff. So I remember that. But I didn't really get into Daredevil until Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada, Jimmy Palmiotti. That was Marvel Knights. That was 1998. That was such a big deal. It was such, like, in 1998, that's the start of my senior year of high school. That was such a great time to be in the comic books, man. People sleep on that very tail end of the 90s in comic books. They're like, oh, 90s comics are just extreme, overproduced garbage, and then the bankruptcy, and then all this. No, DC did some of the best comics in all of comics in the 90s, and Marvel had a very solid end to that decade, seriously. And Marvel Knights is a part of that. Yeah, the Wally Wood stuff back in the day. Yeah, Daredevil being late is the reason why the Avengers exist. We go over that in our Avengers podcast. 80s Daredevil grabbed me by the Miller stuff. Like I liked the Miller stuff, but when I was reading it as a kid, it didn't grab me. But I was a kid. I was like, I don't know. I guess when I first read Daredevil, I was like probably like 9, 10 years old. It just didn't grab me. Didn't grab me at all. It didn't really grab me till Kevin Smith, and then David Mack, and then Brian Michael Bendis, and Ed Brubaker, and so on and so forth. And it was one of the most consistent Marvel runs from the beginning of Marvel Knights all the way until Shadowland. Shadowland ruined it. And then Mark Waid came in and corrected it, but brought back some of that 60s silliness and swashbuckliness, and it worked. And it worked fantastic. It worked so well. And right now, though, I'm not digging Daredevil. I don't like what Charles Soule's doing on that book. That's just me. Alex Maleev's Daredevil, though, with Brian Michael Bendis is amazing. My first recollection of Alex Maleev, who I met back at a Wizard World in like 2002, 2002, 2001, 2002. My first recollection of him is Sam and Twitch with Brian Michael Bendis. That blew me away. He did the tail end of Sam and Twitch. That Sam and Twitch run, I'm not a Spawn guy, guys, whatsoever. But Sam and Twitch by Brian Michael Bendis was amazing. I was a Bendis fan back in the Jinx days, back in the 90s. And I was there day one from Powers. I was there for all that stuff. When Bendis came on the Ultimate Spider-Man and Daredevil, I was the guy at the shop telling like, this is going to be it. And they're like, who is this guy? I was like, dude, have you read Jinx? Have you read Goldfish? Have you read this stuff? It's amazing. Patch, I have no inside information on the X-Classified. They have not told us anything. Nothing at all. We know now we know officially that it's more than just one issue. We thought it was like a relaunch, like a Prime type thing, like you just said. We need a Prime book again. But they just did that a few years ago. It didn't really kind of work out. They did that right before they split into X-Men Gold and Blue and now Red. And they got this color thing going on, and which I think is cool. But we need an Uncanny again. I would like to think that it's a new Uncanny book, but it's not. It's totally some kind of mini-series or something. If it's not a one-shot, it's a mini-series, but it's going to lead to a new Uncanny. They would not launch a new Uncanny book without announcing it. But we are going to know for certain what this book is in June, they say, which I think will happen very early in June. If it's a new Uncanny X-Men #1, applause to Marvel for making that. Like, here's the biggest problem. As a retailer, we're supposed to order a book that we have no idea. We know nothing about it. Nothing about it. Nothing. Now, granted, X-Men books kind of sell around the same and all that stuff for each title, and you kind of understand that. Most X-Men fans are going to want this book plus a few more because they're going to check it out. But we need to know like what it is. That's what we need to know. I hate this X-Classified thing. I think it's stupid. It's a terrible marketing strategy, in my opinion. It's related to a new book, though, definitely. Uncanny X-Men Wolverine, something like that. We know a new Wolverine book is coming in September. Man, we lost some people. Are we that boring? It is a Saturday night. Most people have more exciting things to do than do a live stream and work on videos like me. So we're just sitting here chilling, talking about comic books. Anybody yet seen Solo? Nobody watching this has seen Solo. Why do you guys not go see Solo yet? You guys worried about it? Don't be worried. It's a good, solid heist movie. Some people we lost from the last live stream, I don't think they ever came back. So what do you guys want to talk about? We can go for a little bit longer here. What do you guys want to talk about? Talk about comics, talk about movies, pop culture, the channel, anything. Until we talk, I just want to point out this pop right here. This Velociraptor. Isn't that cool? The Velociraptors back in the day scared the hell out of me in Jurassic Park. And I'm very glad I have this pop to represent that fear. And the opposite of fear is this Jimi Hendrix, which my buddy Mike the Voice Matthews got me for my birthday last month. That's super exciting. Or earlier this month. Buff Muffin, what's up? How you been? You been here the whole time? We haven't heard from you. How you doing, Buff? Amazing Spider-Man 800. I'm super pumped for that. Are you? I am super pumped. I'm so pumped for Amazing Spider-Man 800. I think Dan Slott's been doing an amazing job on the title. I think that this Red Goblin thing is super cool. I'm very excited. I love Carnage. I love Norman Osborn. And I'm excited for it. It comes out Wednesday. Super excited for it. Amazing Spider-Man 800, Doomsday Clock #5, Marvel 2-in-1 #6, and what's the other big one? Oh yeah, Man of Steel #1. Brian Michael Bendis kills it on Man of Steel #1, guys. I've read it. It's so good. You guys gonna read it? You should read it. It's so good. Superman is a comic. I think that I'm not going to go as far as to say that comic books need a successful Superman title. I think they more need a successful X-Men title. Does that make sense? But if Superman was like successful and a big deal and big, I think that would be a big deal for comics. And I think Bendis is going to do it. I think Bendis' Superman is going to be better than his Avengers ever were. Do you like Nighthawk? Dave likes Nighthawk. Do you like the old school Nighthawk or the new school Nighthawk? Which one? And are you talking about Nighthawk like from the Defenders or from Squadron Supreme? From the Defenders? With the goofy cape, like the wing cape and all that stuff? That was always a character I thought was super cool. Yes, okay. That was always a character I thought was super cool. I wanted to know more of him. Well, I want to know more about him, but I never really read that Defender stuff. I should read that. I really should. I think there's a lot of Steve Englehart there. Steve Englehart had a really bad run on FF. He had a really bad run on Avengers. So he always scares me. But I know that he was a big like architect of the Defenders. And Nighthawk was a part of that, right? But yeah, there was a Nighthawk miniseries in the late 90s from Marvel. And I read that and I loved it. I thought it was really cool. Man, I may still have those issues. Did you read that, Dave? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about? Buff wants to know how I feel about Nick Spencer taking over from Dan Slott. I think that Dan has had a nice, good, long run on the title of Spider-Man. I think he's done a great job. I'm very excited to see what he does to wrap up with this go down swinging thing. I think the Red Goblin story has been amazing. I am a fan of Nick Spencer. Okay? I'm a fan of Nick Spencer because of books like Ant-Man. His Ant-Man work, the Scott Lang book, was amazing. It was really, really good. I loved Morning Glories from Image Comics. That was the first Nick Spencer that I read. He did a book called Infinite Vacation that is amazing. And if you guys like crazy, weird, high-concept sci-fi type stuff, check that book out. Because that book is nutso about like multiverse craziness, right? So Infinite Vacation. Nick Spencer is a very talented writer. He does things in a long game, though. He really does. He writes these stories out, and they take time to develop. I thought his run on Captain America was very, very solid. I hated Secret Empire. I don't know if that was his fault, or if that was editorial, or if that was just a shift in the whole flow of the book after the initial reaction. Because I think that was poor timing. But that book back in the 80s, we would all be like applauding it today, right? I really do. But I think that Nick Spencer was really good on Superior Foes of Spider-Man, right? He knows how to do humor in a comic book. If you look at the Free Comic Book Day little slice that we got set up, Nick Spencer's run on Amazing Spider-Man, I'm excited. I'm super excited. You got Ryan Ottley on the artwork. He's been on Invincible for almost decades, it feels like, right? So it's nice to see him come back. It's nice to have Nick Spencer already dedicated to showing off Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. And I think that's super, super cool. So I'm interested because of the art. I like the setup for the story that we got in the Free Comic Book Day issue. Nick Spencer is a hell of a writer. He's had some time off since Secret Empire. He's been able to reflect. He's removed himself from Twitter and from the arguments with fans and all that stuff, which I always think is a great thing. No matter where whatever you think about whatever topic, and don't argue with people. It really doesn't do any too good, right? But I'm super pumped for what Nick Spencer's gonna do. I really, really am. But read Morning Glories and read Infinite Vacation for sure. Len Wein did the first issues of Defenders? NH. Who's the NH? What are you talking about? I'm blanking. I need to read more Defenders. I really do. I really do. I like the Defenders TV series. Oh man, Spider-Geddon. I meant to talk about that on the weekly pop culture wrap up and I forgot about it. So we'll talk about it here real quick. What is NH? What are we talking about? NH. Nighthawk. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. Nighthawk. Okay. Nighthawk. Of course we're talking about Nighthawk. I'm sorry about that, buddy. Avengers 69 is the first Nighthawk. That's super cool. Super cool. So Defenders 14 is the first Nighthawk. Yeah. Len Wein created that character. That's really cool. I need to read more of the old stuff because there was that series in the late 90s from Marvel. It was like 3 issues. And I really, really liked it. I responded well. The new Nighthawk series from the Squadron Supreme was very interesting. Very cool. Very cool stuff. But yes, the Spider-Geddon thing. Gerard Way is coming back to co-write. He's not really writing this. This is a co-writing thing. Zach Thompson and his writing partner, was it Lonnie something? I can't remember. They're basically going to be writing this. But that spider thing that he did in Edge of Spider-Verse is coming back because they're doing an Edge of Spider-Geddon. So that just lets me know that this is kind of like part of this whole like multiverse, Spider-Verse type thing. But Gerard Way's Spider, which is like SP-ER, was awesome. It was the best Edge of Spider-Man, Edge of Spider-Verse book to me. Absolutely. I love it. Roy Thomas created Nighthawk. Okay. Okay. You're saying that Len Wein did the first Defenders then? What did Len Wein do in relation to the Defenders and Nighthawk? But yeah, Roy Thomas, that makes sense. Roy Thomas created so many characters back then. And if Avengers 69 is the first Nighthawk, of course it's Roy Thomas. Of course it's Roy Thomas. That's around the first. Yeah. Yeah, of course. That's totally Roy Thomas. You're right. Len put him in. Okay, I got what you're saying. Yeah. I think Spider-Geddon is definitely like a Spider-Verse Part 2. That's what it is. And it's like an end of the whole thing. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's definitely, yeah, that's what it is. But Gerard Way's little SP-ER, that character, I like it. I like it a lot. Patch wants to know if I still collect single issues or usually wait for trades and collections. I still collect single issues. Absolutely. I limit what I collect in single issues and I limit what I buy in trade. I do some digital. I really do. I think digital is like the best way to get like the whole history of something. So I'm a big fan of digital for like reading comic books from like the 60s and the 70s and the 80s even, things like that. I have a lot of comic books from when I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. I have a lot of I have every issue of Fantastic Four from 120-ish onward. Right now, that's like my number one thing. And I got some key issues and all that stuff. And that's like the biggest part of my collection is Fantastic Four. My comic book collection comes and goes. Like I'll get it and then I'll sell it years and years later, or something like that. But I do still collect single issues. For sure. This week I bought No Justice. I bought Mira because I'm an Aquaman fan. I bought 4 comics this week. What was the others? I can't remember. They're upstairs. I can't remember what they were. The other 2. It was Mira. It was No Justice. What else was it? But I do trade weight some stuff as well. But luckily, because of my position at the shop that I work at, I'm able to read a lot of stuff. If I wasn't able to read as much as I can for free, I would buy a lot more comics. I'll be honest with you, for sure. But I am an avid comic book collector. Yeah, that Mira cover was awesome. That was Scott, right? That was Nicola Scott. It's a really, really good cover. Yeah, I thought this was the best issue of Mira yet, Patch. I really, really did. Aquaman is not my favorite comic book right now. It's one of my favorite heroes, but I really thought that issue was very, very good. I really, really did. This has been a fun live chat. I enjoy doing these things. We typically do them on Sundays, but because I had to shift the work schedule around this week because of the Perfect Circle and Kevin Smith shows and trying to get the video done, I have to work tomorrow. So that's why we're not doing the video tomorrow. Yeah, doesn't it feel like that? Yeah, you totally, I'm going to steal that, Patch, because Aquaman does feel like it's been in the same story for years. Jeff Johns came on, did an amazing job in New 52. Then he left. Jeff Parker came in and did some really good stuff. Then Cullen Bunn came in and kind of like, what was going on? Then Rebirth, and it got exciting. Yeah. Aquaman's kind of been in the same rut for a while now. But there's rumors that Kelly Sue DeConnick's coming on. I'm not the biggest Kelly Sue fan, but I'm interested in some new blood coming into Aquaman. So that's exciting to me. But I'm a huge Aquaman fan. If you guys, I'm going to recommend this because if you've never read Peter David's Aquaman run, you really need to. It is so good. That's the hook hand Aquaman. Fantastic stuff. Great stuff. We're going to go for a little bit longer here. We had some false starts earlier. I'm sorry about that, guys. So if you have a question or something you want to talk about, now's the time, guys. Somebody said they were never into pops. Yeah, I tried to stay away from pops for forever. And people were like, would give me gifts. Then they did the Universal Monster Pops. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get those. And that's it. So I bought all those. And they're like, oh, they're doing a Cthulhu? I'll buy that. Oh, they're doing a Godzilla? I'll buy that. Oh, they're doing, yeah. Now it's an obsession. But I'm not as obsessed as some people are. Like, people are really, really into pops. It's like, how far can this franchise go? How far can this Funko Pop thing go? And there's so many licenses that they've done and so many that they still haven't done. It's crazy how far this can go. Do you guys collect pops? If you do, what's the last pop you bought? And have you seen Han Solo? And if you did you like it? No spoilers. And have you joined us on the PCP Army on Facebook? Me and a lot of the PCP gang there are there, including followers of the channel. So that's very exciting. We talk a lot about comic books, share funny photos, news, things like that. So it's always exciting. And you can just get on Facebook and search for the PCP Army. I believe that we just had Drew show up. Yes, we did. Drew, what is up, buddy? Drew is one of the excitable PCP crew. Noise. I need a thing I can hit. I'm like, wow. What's up, Drew? How you doing? Drew says he may have bought like 3 pops, and from gifts he has like about a dozen. Yeah, people love giving comic book and pop culture fans pops. And it's a good gift. I got a Zach Morris pop. I adore it. Even though those new videos, yeah, they've ruined Saved by the Bell. Not really. I still enjoy it. But yeah, you know. Buck is not a big pop guy, but he's got some. He's still waiting to watch Solo. Drew, have you seen Solo yet? Why was selling pops the worst, Patch? Are you talking about the really like nitpicky, like speculator type collectors? Is that what you're talking about? Because if so, I might know what you're talking about. I do like pops though. I got this Buffy pop. It's right here. These are all pops from like the last month and a half. That's my Buffy pop. I don't have a Buffy pop yet. They've already done some, but I figured if I want to get a Buffy pop, I'm going to get a Buffy pop from Prophecy Girl. She's got the jacket, the dress, the crossbow. I'm a big Buffy fan. And I have more Jason Momoa pops than I have anything else, and that's one of the ones I just recently got. Underwater Jason Momoa. Super cool, right? I like it. I don't really think that Justice League's the greatest movie, but I like that. Yeah, Patch, dealing with collectors on anything can be a pain sometimes. But for the most part, it's pretty easy and cool. But yeah. Oh, yeah, and in my shop, the biggest problem with pops is finding room for them because there are seriously so many new pops every single week. Oh, my goodness, it never stops. It never stops. Iron Sheik, Drew, that's awesome. I think that's cool. WWE has done a lot of cool pops. I almost bought 2 rock pops, like early rock and current rock, like 2000s rock, I guess. But I didn't at all. So I didn't, but I should have. Maybe I should have. But like Funko also does like those mystery minis and things. I got a rock mystery mini and I love it. I know Drew's a wrestling guy. So Iron Sheik is super cool. I remember loving him. Drew, have you seen Solo yet though? Buff says, isn't there a documentary about Netflix about Funko? Is that on Netflix now? Because I need to check it out because there is a documentary about Funko. And my buddy, I don't know if he would want me to say his name, but a buddy of mine is actually in that documentary. He works for Funko. And if you ever notice sometimes in the background, I get like some like exclusives from like San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con or Emerald City or things like that. Those are from my buddy, and he's in that documentary. And it's super, super cool. I haven't seen the documentary yet, but I've seen a little bit. I've seen the trailer. I've seen that he's in it. He got to go to LA for the premiere of that documentary. And I'm super excited for him. But he's a private individual. He may not want me to mention him, but I'm just going to say BW. So if he watches this, yes, he's in that. And I'm super excited. Yeah, it's called Making Fun. It really is. Yeah, is that on Netflix right now? I'm going to watch it then because my buddy's in it. Seriously. They interviewed him. He's like a big Funko dude. He's got prototypes. He's got pieces that are worth thousands of dollars. He's got a very impressive toy collection. And he's been working with Funko for a very, very long time. And he does a lot of those big cons. And he's the reason why I get a lot of exclusives because he looks out for me. And I think that's super, super cool. You know, Drew, what's crazy to me is how many people have not watched Solo. Any other like Star Wars nerd type movie, like people have already, like it's Saturday, people watch that. So many people have seen this movie. Even at my job, like everybody sees these movies like on Thursdays and on Fridays. Nobody had seen it but me. Like nobody, like well, my buddy Cam has seen it, but like no, like it's like no fear. This movie is awesome. It's so good. It's so good. It's a great heist film with great performances. So good. Alden Ehrenreich does an amazing job as Han Solo. He doesn't do a Harrison Ford impression. He owns it. He does his own thing. The Movie Monday review is coming out on Monday. Patreon supporters are going to get it tonight. But Drew, you should watch it. I think you'll like it. It's really, really good. And Donald Glover is amazing. And I know that from Reg, you already heard about the room full of capes, and it's as awesome as you think it is. Yeah, Buff, I'm definitely going to have to check that out. My buddy's in that documentary. That's super cool. He was so excited. It was so random. He got invited to like a premiere. You know, he was there with like all these people like that were in the, like they interview these celebrities, right? And he was so excited. I get it, Drew. I just think there's less general excitement about Han Solo. And I think those fears are unjustified because like it's really, really good. It's really, really good. We're going to stay on for about 10 more minutes here, guys. So if you have any questions, please ask them. We'll talk about them. And we'll get this thing rolling down. Let's roll it down. That's old school SOE type stuff. If you know what I mean. I'm glad so many of my animals have made appearances on the video tonight. I think it's grand. I think it's amazing. So yeah, we'll be doing the weekly comic book review this Wednesday. It'll be up by Wednesday morning. Somebody earlier said that they really appreciate the videos being up, so I appreciate you guys checking them out. I really, really do. Huh? Yeah, Drew. Yeah, we've seen a lot of that negative reaction to Last Jedi influencing Han Solo watching from some people we know. So I get that. I get that it's not from you. I love Last Jedi. I do. I love Last Jedi. I love it so much. I think it's my favorite Star Wars film. It really is. Hera was like scratching herself. It was shaking the house. It was crazy. It was nuts. All right, guys. Anybody got any final questions they want to ask? Anything they want to address, get into, talk about? Appreciate you guys checking out the live stream. I know a lot of you guys check out the live streams after the fact, and I'm pleased to have them out for you guys. But I typically do them every Sunday at 7 o'clock Central Time. That's my time. My time zone in Alabama is Central Time. So I usually do them Sundays at 7. We're doing it on a Saturday night because the schedule this week has switched around. Buff is down with me. Last Jedi was awesome. I really like Last Jedi. I really like Buff. Are you part of the PCP Army? You need to come join us. You need to come join us there. I really think you do. We'll have fun there. We just ask people not to be mean. But that's this channel is about positivity, excitement, and having fun. You should join it, man. Are you on Facebook? If you're not on Facebook, I understand. But if you are, you should join the PCP Army. PCP Army. Search it, find it, ask us to accept you, we will. I guarantee it. We won't. The only reason why we won't accept you is if you're like young, because we feel like we get a little crude sometimes. You should check it out, Buff. Drew, I loved my cake. Drew, I loved that cake. Drew's brother and our friend Zach have started a vegan cheesecake company, and vegan cheesecake's kind of like a thing that doesn't exist, if that makes sense. It's like an imitation cheesecake because it's not actually cheese. Obviously, it's made of cashews, but they are delicious. I want to plug them real quick. Rocket City Raw. Look up Rocket City Raw if you're in my area. They're really good. They're expensive. That's because cashews are damn expensive, guys. Why are nuts so expensive? But it was very, very good. I really, really liked it. They always send you, Drew. It's always you, isn't it? I'm glad I got to see you for a little bit, though. We're doing that fantasy podcast this week. Somebody asked me if I liked high fantasy, and I think that was on the last live stream that crashed. What is high fantasy, Drew? What does that mean? Does that mean like when we're talking about hard sci-fi, like intricate, complex world building, things like that? Is that what high fantasy means? Because I'm curious, because I'm not the fantasy guy. Because when you tell me like we're doing a fantasy podcast, I'm like, yeah, I can talk about Harry Potter and Legend and Lord of the Rings. I mean, obviously, I guess superheroes are fantasy, and the horror stuff is fantasy, and obviously Star Wars is fantasy. But what does high fantasy mean in particular? Like really complicated, complex, well thought out. Is that what that means? Because when we talk about hard sci-fi, we mean like things that are like edgy and into it, and like things like that. So I hope Drew answers me. Or anybody, what is high fantasy? I need to know. Narnia is high fantasy? Is it because it's more than just one thing? It just keeps going on. It's like world building and things like that. Because you know me, I love Narnia. We're gonna do top 5 fantasy movies, Drew. But we are gonna talk about books in a segment. We are. And Drew, you asked me last night, the brief time I saw you, if there's any suggestions or anything. If you have any suggestions, just send them to me and John in a group message on Facebook. What's A Wheel of Time? Okay. I don't know what Malazan is. So yeah, Lord of the Rings, like big epic world building type things. That's super cool. I love Narnia. Narnia seems simple to me, but it's really, really good. Narnia is my favorite fantasy series in book form. Like I love Narnia. I grew up loving that. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. C.S. Lewis was a big influence on me, especially in my teenage years when I was in seminary. And obviously, I'm not a preacher or anything today. I'm a comic book preacher, so that's cool. But yeah, Narnia is my jam, man. My jam. Aslan, come on. That's Liam Neeson, man. Do you remember those those BBC versions of like Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe and Silverchair and Don Tread and all that with the puppets? They were so silly. They were so silly. Yeah, but Drew, Narnia is not our world, right? And is not like I thought that like Tolkien's Middle Earth was meant to be like in our world, but just an age we forgot. But basically like a world that's more than just like, so it doesn't, like Highlander doesn't count as high fantasy, but like something that's more intricate and building its own world, like Narnia and Lord of the Rings. Is that what you're talking about? A lot of fantasy, I think, is built in a version of our world. I don't know. Fantasy is not typically my jam, but obviously I like a lot of fantasy. I mean, a lot of horror movies could count as fantasy. I mean, we could count Superman the movie and things like that, but we're not. We're going to count stuff like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Legend. Those are the things I'm thinking about. We're going to do a book section, and Drew, it's really nice that Drew's going to be on this fantasy podcast because him and Brooks are the fantasy guys. Okay. But like, okay, I know this, Drew, because I used to absorb the supplements on DVDs and Blu-rays. But like Tolkien said that he felt that there was like a lack of mythology from the Anglo-Saxon era. Like he had Beowulf and that was it. and that he wanted to create a mythology, and that Middle Earth was almost like a parallel for Europe at some point. That's what I thought. I thought I had heard that. Well, but okay. I mean, I trust you, obviously. But right now, it's just me and Drew talking. So does anybody have any final questions? We're about to sign off here. And me and Drew can talk more about this fantasy podcast on our own. But it's nice that you guys get to see a little bit of inside information. And once again, if you want to interact with me and Drew and some of the other PCP crew members, excitable we are, like Justin, like Jelani, like John sometimes, like Brooks never, but like all of us, Jeremy, Timothy, all of us are on there. Go to the PCP Army on Facebook. You can find it. Just go to the Pop Culture Philosophers page if you need to on Facebook. Make sure you like that and join us. And we're about to do a Patreon contest. We're about to start doing contests every month for Patreon supporters. So check us out there. Patreon.com/PCP. So any final questions? We're in the last 5 minutes of the live stream. This is the moment for your final questions and my final thoughts. Gaga for Cocoa Puffs over Marvel 2-in-1 number 5 or number 6, and I guarantee you guys